It seems that His Majesty is not feeling well. What? Upon hearing the unexpected news, Presepe's eyes widened in surprise. What do you mean? Sick? It is said that he has been complaining of a headache since early morning, and he took some medicine and is now at rest. Dietrich had never been sick before, not once. Only one thing came to mind, this wrong dialogue choice. Grand Duke Fenric was visiting at the time, so the matter was passed on to him instead. So, Ella's words stopped, leaving behind a heavy silence. Both Presepe and the Archbishop, who was sitting, wore gloomy expressions. Grand Duke Fenric? At that moment, the Duke himself entered, and coldly focused his gaze on the Archbishop, his expression a mixture of annoyance and dissatisfaction. I heard about it from the maid. Do you have evidence linking Mrs.? What do you mean? If that's not the case, you can't hold Ms. Your Highness, I was just receiving an explanation of the situation from Mrs. The Archbishop's face hardened in response to Fenric's harsh tone. Although you may be His Majesty's closest confidant, this is a matter you cannot interfere with. Do you understand what I am saying? Fenric replied, his voice steady, not a flash of emotion appearing on his face. But was there anything really worth explaining? According to the maid, the Archbishop arrived at the church shortly after Mrs. This means that Mrs. The Archbishop remained silent. If there was someone to question, it would be the guards who were on duty or perhaps the maid who was stationed at the entrance. To be fair, Fenric's argument was flawless. In fact, it was subtle enough to be quite annoying. Shouldn't you prioritize checking whether Ms. And that was true too. If she were still a member of the imperial family and not an outcast in disgrace, the Archbishop would not have dared to question her in this way. Fenric, who seemed to be of the same opinion, continued to press the Archbishop. No matter how much authority you have over the church, that authority does not extend to Mrs. Surely you understand that, don't you? The Archbishop was visibly annoyed, and stared at Fenric, while Presepe looked at him with a surprised expression. Ever since she found herself stuck in this game and facing countless bad endings, this was the first time anyone had stood by her side. Let us consider here that it was not one of the male characters who sided with her, but rather there was a non-player character like Fenric. I have informed His Majesty's guards, and His Majesty will hear about this soon enough, Fenric said brusquely. Maybe you should ask the maid further. She mentioned that she saw a suspicious person leaving the building. Oh, but I only saw him briefly in passing, Ella whispered hesitantly, shrinking under the sudden attention. He disappeared so quickly, Fenric didn't seem at all concerned about her excuses. I will accompany Mrs. Stay and tell us what you saw. That is enough. He extended his hand towards Presepe, a gesture of respect, to help her stand. Let's go, Mrs. That's all I really saw, Presepe explained as they returned to the tower after leaving the church. I don't know what exactly happened, but for something like this to happen today of all days, the Duke may not know this, but today was my first visit to this church. This made it even more confusing. Duke Fenric? Despite receiving no response despite her babbling, Precipice turned to look at Fenric with a puzzled expression. He seemed to be deep in thought, and his expression was unusually serious. But the look did not last long, as he quickly adjusted his facial expression and replied in a worried tone. Are you sure you're not hurt? Yes, I'm fine. Well, that's all that matters. It was a little strange. Looking at the Archbishop's reaction earlier, it was clear that something important had happened. However, Fenric only seemed to care about her well-being, as if nothing else mattered. Do you think this is really that guy? This guy? Which Ella and I saw. But could he really destroy such a huge statue by himself? This is something we will find out through the investigation, Fenric said casually, shaking his head as if it was no big deal. Thank you, Duke Fenric. Why? To defend me. Fenric paused. There is no one in this palace who stands by me like you did. It was the first time I felt that way. I'm really grateful. Thank you. Did she say too much? Especially for someone as close to Dietrich as Fenrik. But gratitude was gratitude. Moreover, Fenrik, with his own eyes and ears, must have been aware of how badly Presepe was being treated in the palace. After all, he was just an NPC. He couldn't interfere much in the game's larger plot, so sharing such thoughts wouldn't change anything important. You seem to be feeling much more comfortable than when we last met, Fenrik commented. Pardon? Last time, you were so nervous, you only answered the questions I asked. Oh, but I like it just like that. Fenrik commented with a slight laugh. This must mean that I have become someone Mrs. After all, you don't seem to have many people to talk to frankly, do you? At that time, she wondered if he really meant it, but now, perhaps her suspicions were unjustified. But had she strayed from the topic? Anyway, since you have nothing to do with this incident, even if His Majesty knew about it, there should be no serious consequences. Would that really be the case? Given Dietrich's usual behavior, it was hard to imagine that he would let this matter go so easily. Although he may not have cared much about the incident in the church itself, the problem lay elsewhere. Dietrich was an incorrigible skeptic. He might ignore the smashed statue, but he would certainly suspect Presepe of collusion with someone else. He would accuse her of planning to abandon him, as he did during that event where she ended up imprisoned in the ice cell. You look unconvinced, Fenrik remarked, his lips curling into a faint smile. How about we bet then? A bet? On what? If this incident causes you any trouble, I am the loser. If it is resolved as quietly as I expect, then you are the loser. The loser must grant the winner one wish. What do you think? But I have no power to grant any wish you may have, Lord Fenrik. You can decide that after hearing my wish, right? And if I win? I will grant you any wish you have, Mrs. Anything at all. Even if that desire is to leave this game and return to the real world? She laughed dryly before she could stop herself. Mrs. No, nothing. Okay, let's do this. Shall we? Of course, even if I win, I doubt that I will have enough time to fulfill your wish. No matter how this incident unfolded, the game's second major event was inevitable. That cursed event where she will be imprisoned in the ice prison because of an anonymous letter sent to Dietrich. Since the operation was inevitable, and the prison itself lasted days, who knew when she might see Fenrik again? So, really, it didn't matter what happened. Fenrik wouldn't be able to grant her wish anyway. Okay, Fenrik replied with a smile that didn't quite match Precipice's thoughts. Remember this, you made a bet with me. Before they knew it, they had reached the West Tower. Fenrik bowed politely to Presepe, who looked at him with an embarrassed expression. After all, there were few people in the palace who treated her with such kindness. Please, get some rest. I imagine this day has been stressful for you. And you, Lord Fenrik? Are you leaving? No, I will stay at the palace. They said His Majesty should be up by dawn at the latest. Because of the incident that happened in the church? That, and I still have other matters to take care of. Other things? You mean the maid, Ella? Yes. I heard that she and some other maids moved into their residence after being assigned to serve me. That's right. Originally, Ella was staying in the rooms used by palace maids, but after His Majesty locked you in the tower, she and a few others were moved to a closer place to rest. It would likely make monitoring easier, but why bring this up now? They said it was behind the West Tower. That must be the place over there. Fenrik's crimson eyes shifted to the spot behind them. Master Fenrik, why? Okay, I'll be leaving now. Rest in peace, Mrs. Without answering her question, Fenrik walked away with steady steps, leaving Presepe alone. Worry crept into her soul as she looked toward the church, but there was no sign of Ella. He was dreaming. A dream completely filled with precipitate. In that dream, Dietrich spent countless days with her, days that he misunderstood or ignored. Through her words, he learned the truth behind those moments and conveyed his sincerity to her. However, throughout the dream, he never smiled sincerely. Even when he whispered words of love, looking at Presepe's bright, sunny smile, he couldn't help it. And the only moments Dietrich ever smiled at her sincerely were always the same. No matter how sweetly you whisper your love to me. I can't believe any of this. It's all over the moment you leave my hand. When he urged her to die with him, she complied, only then did he smile happily. Now, finally, I can believe you. But the dream did not end there. Scene after scene repeats endlessly, Presepe's lifeless body having chosen to die alongside him. No, I don't remember that. I didn't do this. I didn't dash. Huh? Dietrich suddenly woke up, gasping for air, his chest rising and falling as he sat up on the bed.